Welcome to Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. I'm David D'Ambroso, and this is David McLain. David, could you tell us just a little bit about what you do for the Republican Party?
Sure. I'm the Republican Party of Tulsa County chairman, and my role in the party is very simple. I ensure that we have free and fair elections. I ensure that our platform is adhered to, and a number of other things.
That's
as
important.
well.
I'm excited about some of that stuff. I really like the direction we're going with our new governor. Some of the things that he's already done as governor-elect.
Yes.
Pretty exciting. And what was that? Did you hear about the budget situation with the surplus? What happened there?
Well, we have I believe a $612 million budget surplus right now, and our governor was gracious enough to come out and remind the people and the legislature that $612 is not spending money; it's savings, and
It's not Christmas time.
It's not Christmas
for everybody,
time, right? And that we need to adhere to our conservative fiscal principles. And he reminded us that we need approximately $2 billion in our rainy day fund in order for us to have a comfort level that he's comfortable with.
Wow, that's a new day in Oklahoma indeed.
It is.
That's pretty rare and refreshing to hear something
It
like
is,
that.
very much.
As well, something you said earlier I want to touch upon is refreshing. You said something about precincts. I typically don't hear too much about the politics at the precinct level or engagement with the precincts.
Yes.
What's your vision for that?
Well, you know, in Tulsa County, what we did when we took office, we immediately went to work in our precincts. We immediately went through and looked at the total number of, we have 262 precincts in Tulsa County. We have 400,000 Republicans in Tulsa County with 262 precincts. We have precinct chairman, precinct vice chairman, and we immediately went to work in there looking at the precincts where we had chairman, the precincts where we didn't have a chairman, the precincts where we had chairmen that weren't active, precincts where we had chairmen that were active.
That's what I was going to ask next. Do you know off the top of your head approximately how many inactive precincts there are, or precincts that we might need chairman in?
Right. So when we took office, we had, out of 262 precincts, I believe we had 40... If I remember the number correct, I'm pulling this off the top of my head.
Yeah, just ballpark.
I want to say we had
precise.
49 chairmen of precinct and 47 vice chairmen out of 262 precincts. Was it, Allie?
That's abysmal. We'll go somewhere in that
Yeah,
ballpark.
yeah.
Where are we sitting now?
So today I believe we're about 187 in chairman and about 190 in vice chairman.
So, I mean, it looks like there's still plenty of positions open for people that want to
There
get
are.
involved.
There are. So we selected and targeted certain precincts and began to go in and just do basic home precinct meetings, door knocking in the precinct, pulling together a little table of food and throwing it out there.
Yeah, how much money does it have to conduct a home meeting and knock on some doors?
Oh, it's pretty cheap. Normally around $6 in food and how many hours ever you want to spend door knocking. We normally make up some flyers, go out, pass some flyers out prior to the meeting, attract the crowd to come into the meeting, then begin to teach on our conservative principles is what we do. And we also talk about how to get involved in the party. Oftentimes you run into situations where people want to be involved, but they don't know how to get involved. And so that's about 90% of what we hear from people is, wow, no one's ever knocked on our door. Thank you for coming to our house first and foremost. Wondered for a long time how we actually get involved in the party. And I tell them, we tell them, hey, here's how you get involved in the party. Come to this meeting, and then we begin to hook them up with different groups that we have within the Republican Party of Tulsa County, as well as activism.
It sounds like a lot more than was going on in Tulsa County in previous years, to be honest with you. So that's exciting to hear. If someone wanted to become a precinct chair or vice chair, who would they contact? How would they go about that?
Well, they would contact the RPOTC here in Tulsa County, and you're actually, these are actually pretty. There was once a time in the Republican Party where the precinct chairman and vice chairman had a good understanding of what the actual authority and structure was of the party. And that's what I have been purposing to do in Tulsa County, is to explain to the precinct chair and vice chair that they are the authority in the county. And I'm not their authority. The state's not their authority, but yet they have sovereign authority over their own areas that they work in. And obviously we have rules and different things and policies that we have to follow, but nonetheless, they are the ruling body. And so trying to spent the last 24 months trying to educate our precinct chairman and vice chairman about the importance of showing up to the caucuses that are coming up. January 23rd is, or 29th, I apologize, January 29th is our caucusing dates. And this is where all of the party will get together and they will elect precinct chairman and vice chairman. And those precinct chairman and vice chairman's jobs are very simple. You have a precinct, you take your precinct, and you go build relationships within your precinct, and you teach the party principles, the party platform in these precincts. You have meetings, you invite your legislators to these meetings so that they can address their constituency and begin to build a relationship. The constituency then begins to build a relationship with their legislator. And what we have found in Tulsa County is this ends a lot of the pointing fingers and yelling and screaming at one another. Because this creates an opportunity for the legislator to come in and explain why they voted the way that they voted. It begins to start a good dialogue with the legislator. You're having some food, it's a relaxed atmosphere, and the legislator will normally give a good word while he's in there or she's in there. Then they'll take some questions and begin to answer for the way they voted, what their ideas are, and different things like that. But not only that, it helps us to begin to talk about behind closed doors that 15 to 25% that we all disagree with each other on, right? So Republicans is like herding cats. The Republicans are free thinkers, and unfortunately, we have over times past taken that 15 to 25% that we disagree on, and instead of doing it behind closed door and precinct meetings, having those discussions, we've taken to things like Facebook, social media, and lambasted one another out here in public and cut each other up, and we have not come to any solutions to those problems.
It's pretty costly, especially when the left is so unified.
Yes.
And thought and action. You know, I love this. Have this laboratory of democracy, so to speak, behind closed doors and come out with a unified front.
Exactly. And this allows time for candidates to come in at these precinct level meetings, and the actual constituents get to vet the candidate themselves behind closed doors in a private setting at home where it's relaxed, where everybody's kind of relaxed. We're getting to know one another. We're building relationships. We're beginning to talk about the important things on how to govern, how to move things forward within the state of Oklahoma. Because our new governor is going to have certain policies that he's going to want to see come through. And we have got to get our legislature involved at the precinct level, create a soft landing for them to come back home. A place where it's not visceral, where they're not concerned about having to step out in front of their constituency, but nonetheless being held accountable at the same time.
Well, people can come face to face with their representative. That's important.
That's very important. And begin to understand that there's a certain methodology that we want to use when we are coming to our legislature. You know, a friend of mine said to me, David, you get more done with honey than you do with vinegar. And I can ask a hard question and articulate a hard question to my legislature without pointing my finger in his face and calling him names or just having a visceral attitude towards him.
Getting rid of those built-in assumptions or malice and say, here, we really want to understand each other.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're on the same side.
That's right. And at the end of the day, regardless of how you look at it, there's about anywhere from 15 to 25% that Republicans just do not agree upon and are not going to agree upon. You know, if you looked at conservative ratings nowadays, we can go back just 6-7 years ago and look at conservative ratings. Not that conservative ratings are worth a flip. I'm going to say that because I can look at one conservative index.
And what are the metrics?
Yeah, right. So, but nonetheless, let's just use that as an example of conservative rating. We can go back 6 or 8 years ago when we were at 75 to 85% conservative ratings on both indexes that we use. And we the people were viscerally upset at our legislators because we said that they were rhinos.
Demonizing a guy who's with you 80% of the time.
Right.
You know, what did Reagan say about that?
Right. Well, Reagan said if they're 50% or better, leave them alone. That's what Ronald Reagan said. Because at the 50% mark, you have something you can go in and work with. And begin to try to mold and help and shape.
What do you think about this? If we were to work towards a common goal, which many of us agree in the Republican Party, there's certain things that need to be addressed immediately. Why in the world when we work on those things first and get them accomplished rather than focusing on the things that we disagree with and putting that in the back end? Right. Leaving that for another day. Why? I mean, is that something you think we can practically achieve in these coming years?
I think if we're all willing to lay down our grudges, one thing I've learned as the county chairman of a very large nonprofit organization is people have had hard feelings toward one another over the years. And instead of sitting down and talking it out, it has turned into this great chasm of well, you're further left than I am, or you're further right than I am, and we never get an opportunity to sit down and articulate what we do agree upon. So we don't get an opportunity to sit down and look at, just use our platform for an example. Sit down and really begin to articulate what our core principled values are in that platform. I
definitely want to get you on a platform. This is good, yeah.
And begin to shrink that platform down to a place where all of us Republicans at that 75% mark agree with one another on those principles.
We talked about decentralization earlier.
Yes, all of us get our teeth into those principles and begin to espouse and talk those principles, and the things that we cannot agree upon, we take it back to the precinct level and we work it out there behind closed doors and knock off the visceral hate towards one another, with all due respect. That's just my personal opinion.
All right, well, we're going to take a break here. Just a minute, we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here, and everyone who knows me knows I love to read a great book, and right now I'm reading this incredible novel by local author Richard Engel. All you have to do is go to LastAmericanPresident.com and say big right now on this book. The Last American President is a story about political intrigue, romance, betrayal set against the backdrop of the dissolution of the United States of America. It's great reading, and when you go to LastAmericanPresident.com, LastAmericanPresident.com, use the promo code OTU, you're going to save money. And not only that, but half the price comes back to OTU. So half the proceeds from this book come back so you can watch great programming like you see on the OTU Media Network every day. LastAmericanPresident.com. I highly recommend this book. Read it today.
Off camera here, we're just talking about preserving liberties for a moment, because that's really not the natural state of things, right? That people have these liberties. These liberties have been reflected in our governing documents, haven't they?
Yes.
And in natural state of society in the world, people are not free under most governments, are they?
Sure, that's right.
And that's really what we're trying to conserve, isn't it? Just to go back a little bit, there's some wordplay with conservatism. We're trying to conserve that way of life, that liberty, our Constitution.
Absolutely.
So we were, on that topic, we've got constitutional amendments and liberties enshrined in that Constitution. There's something going on in the state with insurance right now.
Yes.
Could you speak a little bit to that? Cameras and reporting to people who might not have proper papers to travel?
Yeah, so we have the car insurance registration system in Tulsa, and it's a mobile operation where they have this, for the lack of a better vocabulary, camera attached to a vehicle, and it just literally runs around and scans license plates. And as it's scanning the license plates, it tells whoever's in the vehicle whether you have insurance or not. And if you don't have insurance, it automatically sends you a ticket. Then it can lead to license being suspended and a number of other things. The issue with this is this is a violation of civil liberties.
Which ones?
Well, the First, Fourth, Fifth, and 10th Amendment. I mean, we can
just
stand on
those?
all of them, yeah.
Oh.
I need to be secure in my papers and my possessions and things of that nature. Now, I do agree. I do like the idea if I get hit, somebody has car insurance to cover.
Sure, we've all been hit by somebody. Well, most of us that don't have car insurance.
Right, exactly. But nonetheless, this right here is a money-generating machine for the city.
I mean, could they use this for people that are speeding or failing to use their turn signals? Or, I mean, is this, where does it end?
Well, I don't know.
That's the stoplight camera. I mean, what happens?
Right.
You're going to get a ticket in the mail? And...
Right. And we've seen how successful the red light cameras have not been in the United States. I think we had situations out in California where some guy was running around putting yellow sticky notes all over the cameras. Everywhere they turned around, yellow sticky note man showed up, and their cameras were covered up. They fined him, tried to jail him, and did all kinds of things to him, but eventually they beat those cameras out in California. And it's a violation of, once again, First, Fourth, Fifth, 10th Amendment rights. And I'm a civil liberties man. And so when I see this type of stuff taking place in Tulsa, I have to scratch my head over it. I have to be honest with you. How did we let a city council get to this place? Oh, I can tell you how they got there, just so you know. Well, some aren't going to like this, but these nonpartisan elections we have at the city have really caused us an immense amount of issues as conservatives.
Because they're ideological. I mean, so why in the world? I mean, it's not like it's a non-ideological position. Why in the world can't you have partisan politics involved?
Well, that's right. So if it's a nonpartisan race, why can't the counties endorse in those city races? Well, they can. And Tulsa County is going to. That's for sure. And at least in my administration as we move forward.
I heard that caused a little bit of a ruckus. Level. I mean, this is an innovation. Am I wrong? This is a David McLain innovation, or is it not?
Well, here's the thing. We have the Board of Education. And let me give you an example. We have one ward and one Board of Education right now where we've got 10 people running for an office. 9 are Democrats, 1 is a Republican. Let's think about that for just a moment. 9 Democrats and 1 Republican. We will be endorsing in that race. We will be pushing money down.
Who will we be endorsing?
We will be endorsing Nicole Nixon in that race, for sure. And we will be pushing money down ballot to Nicole Nixon in those races. We'll be putting boots on the ground for Nicole Nixon in that race.
And she's a Republican,
and
right?
She's
We only endorse Republicans in the Republican Party, or we sometimes endorse Democrats?
No, we don't endorse Democrats.
Okay. Or communists, no?
No.
Well, they're red, too.
No, yeah. Well,
okay, just making sure. Some people seem to be confused about that are Republicans. I don't know.
Well, David, you know how it is. But nonetheless, we will be supporting Nicole Nixon in this race, very high-handedly, and we'll go from there and see how it all plays out. But if we do not, at the very most localist of level, begin as a party to endorse in these nonpartisan races, we are going to have a blue wall coming at us at a consistent level. Because I'll tell you, the Democrats understand something that Republicans, I don't want to say have overlooked, or
it's against our nature.
Or and that is focusing at the very localist of level. This is where
I was going to say towing the line.
Yes,
but okay.
at the very local level is where we see our tax dollars working. If you're going to tax me, I want to be able to see my tax dollars at work.
Sure.
You see, and so we see a local Board of Education And that local board of education has our tax dollars. Now, I don't have any kids in public school, but my tax dollars are still paying
some representation, right?
Right.
For a service.
Right. So now there's an immense amount of money that is run through these local school boards.
You bet.
Unchecked.
Well, I thought they were all poor.
Unchecked. An immense amount of money that runs through these local school boards. The Democrats understand this. Okay? They understand local control mechanisms. We as Republicans must needs turn our attention to our local controls. I don't care how big or small your city is. If you haven't run for a city council position, I don't care if you're in a town of 2,000 or in a town of 2 million, a city of 2 million. If you are a conservative and you understand the conservative values and you can articulate them, you have must needs please start running for these local school board offices as well as your city council seats. Very, very important, because this is where the rubber meets the road in politics. You know, when I go to the grocery store, I'm from Skiatook, Oklahoma, so when I go to we're a town of 8,400. When I go to the grocery store, who do I see at the grocery store? My school superintendent. I see my local city councilman. I see the Board of Education there. And so I can have conversations with those people regularly on how our community money is spent and what direction that our community is heading in. This is true activism. True activism is you articulating and are actively involved in your community at the localist of levels. And this is what I've been encouraged in Tulsa County. And I'm going to continue to encourage in Tulsa County, that we continue to get heavily involved in these types of governmental.
Well, and it's so important. We see this with President Trump right now. Well, I mean, he's one man and he's done a lot of great things for the nation, but he's just one man in the executive. He needs support in order to complete his agenda.
That's right.
Well, we just lost Congress, we lost the House rather, and we've retained the Senate. And so now this will stymie his agenda. It sounds like you're suggesting that we continue the progress that we're making in the state, conservative progress, by being active at all levels.
Absolutely. And really focusing at the localist of level.
Good stuff. Well, we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Oklahoma has one of the worst rates of uninsured drivers in all of the country. But now the state will start using cameras to catch those driving without insurance. It starts November 1st with 5 cameras along busy highways in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Eventually, there'll be at least 30 cameras statewide. On Oklahoma roads, 1 in 4 drivers don't carry auto insurance. But starting next week, in the first of its kind program in the country, cameras will identify those drivers by matching their driver's license number with a database of uninsured drivers.
We are able to plug into real time with insurance companies. So if you go get insurance with your insurance agent, we should know real time that you have insurance.
Drivers who don't have insurance will be fined $174 and will have to get insurance for at least 2 years or face criminal charges. You may be wondering, who's paying for this? We're told the cameras and their maintenance are paid for by a private company, a company that will get a percentage of the fines.
The state of Oklahoma will pay nothing to get that in place. This program is going to be paid for by the people that are violating the law, that are sending this money in.
But officials say the program will likely save Oklahomans money because insurance companies won't be forced to pay claims caused by uninsured drivers.
This should help.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here, and everyone who knows me knows I love to read a great book, and right now I'm reading this incredible novel by local author Richard Engel. All you have to do is go to lastamericanpresident.com and say big right now in this book. The Last American President is a story about political intrigue, romance, betrayal set against the backdrop of the dissolution of the United States of America. It's great reading, and when you go to lastamericanpresident.com, lastamericanpresident.com, use the promo code OTU, you're going to save money. And not only that, but half the price comes back to OTU. So half the proceeds from this book come back so you can watch great programming like you see on the OTU Media Network every day. LastAmericanPresident.com. I highly recommend this book. Read it today.
I'll get right into it. David, why do you think so many people are incarcerated in the state of Oklahoma?
Well, you know, we have the #1 incarceration rate for male and female per capita in the world today. More so than the likes of Bolivia, third world countries, right here in the state of Oklahoma.
We have less crime than in Bolivia, though, don't we?
Well, yeah.
Certainly violent crime.
Well, sure.
We can measure that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Far few murders per capita.
Well, we have a lot of victimless crime in the state of Oklahoma. There's no doubt about that. But with that said, the highest incarceration rate in the world is what makes us #1 there. And you know,
I like how Kevin Stitt framed that. That makes us last place, by the way.
Yeah.
He put that.
Yeah, that makes us
and
absolute.
parentheticals. That makes us last.
Yeah, we're
the fact
last.
that we're first in incarceration.
Yeah, we're last there. And you know, the good thing is we have new leadership coming in right now that is going to be addressing this situation. And I think at a pretty rapid clip.
Any indication as to how, or that's kind of just a little bit like the wall situation? I'll let you know when I get the funding, and you know.
Yeah, you know, I really don't have all the I can't articulate
Sure.
all the particulars on that. I just know for me personally.
Some of these things are works in motion.
Right, and something that I've learned is if there is dialogue going on and debate going on, that's the first sign of movement in a government.
Like maybe at your local precinct?
Yeah, at your local precinct, but I'm talking about here at the state level as well. When our legislator begin a dialogue on it with their constituents, and they have, and they want to address the incarceration rate in the state of Oklahoma.
It's very costly, isn't it? $22,000 per person per year?
Yeah, it's very, very expensive. And it's... look, what it does is that we wind up with fatherless homes, broken homes over it. I'm not talking about letting criminals out of prison here.
Violent criminals, certainly not.
Criminals, right, out of prison here. I'm talking about incarcerating people because there's a certain analytic that has to be hit in order to justify the prison staying in business.
Are you referencing the fee-based system on our private prisons, or the?
Well, I didn't. Yeah, that's exactly what
Right.
I'm referencing. That
You get a certain capacity, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you know, we have to incarcerate a certain amount of individuals within the state of Oklahoma, or our private prisons still get paid that amount of money. I make
like a quota almost.
I make a funny joke when I say whoever negotiated that contract, I sure like for them to come negotiate my business's contracts, because I'll tell you, if I can get paid for work that I don't have to do, but yet get work provided to me no matter what, sign me up.
And what does that incentivize the other side to do, right?
Right.
Fill those cells.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, our sheriffs, our police officers, and our legislator, our judges, if you go and talk to our judges today, and maybe some of you have been to some of the meetings where we had our candidate judges out, and hearing them talk about how it bothers, not just bothers them, but just morally, I even heard one judge say it's just morally corrupt.
We've got some top-notch judges in law enforcement, and I hear this all of the time, especially with mental health. Yeah. Law enforcement just absolutely regrets the number of those that have been abandoned with mental health issues that end up in the prison system that really don't belong there.
Right.
And the money, seems to me, could be better allocated towards mental health rather than towards prison systems that just have a revolving door.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't benefit anyone, does it?
No, and our state's constitution requires that we have 4 mental hospitals in the state of Oklahoma.
Well, how good are we at following that
Well,
constitution?
at one point we had over 5,000 beds in the state of Oklahoma. Right now we have it's right around 250, 255 beds within the state of Oklahoma that are available now. From 5,000 down to 250.
Yeah, they closed down the facilities at Veneta
Yes,
and Pauls Valley. I
that's
mean,
right.
at this point, I don't even know if we have a dedicated facility.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's insanity.
Well, I know in Tulsa County, our dedicated facility there is the county jail.
Yes, yeah, that's what law
And it's
enforcement tells me all the time.
very
They don't like
difficult.
it.
Look, it's a very difficult situation. You know, our local law enforcement, our local sheriff, and our local PD get these mentally ill people, and they are legitimately mentally ill. They get them back on their medications. They figure out, it takes time, but they get everything figured out. They get them back on their medications, and then the date of release comes for them. They have to release them, and they can't prescribe any medication. They can't even prescribe a gap medication for them to be able to leave there to get to a doctor to keep their medication so they can keep their civility.
That is total insane.
and their
Why
mental
is that?
capacity. I don't know, and I don't know.
We need to cut
why.
through that tape. I mean,
I
that's
don't-
just a
I don't know
stupid
why.
regulation.
I honestly don't know why. I would like to find out why.
Sure.
I just don't know why. So when it comes to these high incarceration rates, we have a lot of work to do there.
Absolutely.
And that's
yeah.
one of my hot buttons.
If you're first in this issue, you're last. I definitely agree with the governor-elect. I think there are a lot of people
man.
working towards this issue.
Yeah.
And
And our governor-elect is very aware. And I believe it's Sarah Stitt is heavily involved in the mental health side as well. She is pushing desperately for mental health for the state of Oklahoma.
And that's been one of the crusades of David Van Rissenhelm. So he's an authority on this. He's very knowledgeable. So with that, folks, I think we're out. This has been David McLain. I'm David D'Ambroso. Hope to see you back at Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite.